Welcome and good afternoon. My name is Kamish Orr, and welcome back to something I like to call Stories from the Maelstrom, a recap of the day's games for this past week of real time. All right, there's just 12 games left in the season for most teams. I think Boston and somebody else maybe has an extra game because they got rained out earlier in the season, but so every game really counts now. Let's start off in Oakland, where the New York Swats were facing the Oakland Jacks. These two teams are, neither one of them are close to first place in the American League. But interesting game nonetheless. Nolan Ryan starting this one for the New York Swats, facing off against Mike Messina. And Nolan Ryan had a horrible third inning here. After getting Robin Yount and Hank Greenberg out, he allowed singles to George Brett and Joe DiMaggio, and walked Mickey Cochran. And then there was a comebacker to the mound, and Ryan could not handle it. That error would lead to 9 unearned runs in the inning. Following that error, Reggie Jackson walked. That walked in a run. Nellie Fox drove in 2 with a single. Rod Carew then walked. Robin Yount drove in 2 with a single. And then Hank Greenberg topped it all off with a 3-run home run. So Ryan was not sharp in this one. He did allow 12 hits in just 6 innings of work. And he walked 7 and only struck out 3. So this one was Oakland all the way. Mike Messina picks up his 7th win. He's 7-2. He allowed 3 earned runs in 6 innings himself. On the offensive side, Robin Yount was 2 for 4 with 3 RBI here. 1 here on a double in the first inning, and then that 2-run single in the third. So New York falls to 18-25. Most likely they are out of the playoff contention here. Oakland improves to 19-23. Unless something very weird happens, I think both of these teams neither one of them will be seen in the postseason. Next, we head to Houston as the St. Louis Wizards, the top team in the National League, face off against the Houston Hoots. St. Louis has been pretty hot lately, and that hotness continues. Houston actually scored 3 off Steve Carlton in the third inning here with an RBI single from Jeff Bagwell and an RBI double that drove in 2 runs by Gary Carter. However, the Wizards responded against Phil Niekro in the fourth, scoring 4 runs on back-to-back 2-run singles from Ozzie Smith and Oscar Charleston. That put them up 4-3, and they would not relinquish that lead. In fact, Houston wouldn't score the rest of the game. So Carlton goes 7 innings, allowing just 3 earned runs on 8 hits. Phil Niekro actually only allowed those 4 runs in the fourth. Rube Marquard came in the 9th and allowed 3 more runs, all unearned. And so Carlton improves to 6-4 only. But more importantly, the St. Louis Wizards are 29-14 to extend their lead in the National League. Houston falls to 19-24. Houston and Chicago now playing the role of spoilers in the National League, or trying to. Next, we head to Boston as the Detroit Rockets and the Boston Splinters face off, the top 2 teams in the American League. Boston entered this one just a half a game back at Detroit. So this is a crucial 4-game series here between these 2 teams. And Detroit would take the upper hand in Game 1 in Boston at Fenway Park. Adrian Beltre, 4 for 4 with all 6 Rocket RBI in this one. He hit 2 homers. Here you can see he had a single in the second, a solo shot in the fourth, a 3-run homer in the 6th, and then he drove in another run in the 8th. 5 of those came off of Gaylord Perry, the 6th run off of Lefty Grove. Meanwhile, Dave Stieb had an amazing game for the Rockets. He allowed just 4 hits and a 1 run in 8 innings. In fact, he had a shutout going until here in the 8th when Ricky Henderson had an RBI single to break up the shutout. And up to that point, he had only allowed 2 hits, 2 singles here. So 4 singles overall. Very great performance from Dave Stieb. And Detroit improves to 25-18. Boston falls to 23-19. They're now a game and a half back. Ted Williams went 2 for 4 to improve his American League leading average to 371. But with those 4 hits by Adrian Beltre, 4 for 4, his average is now 361. So he's in second place there in the American League. His 2 homers give him 13 on the season, which for a few innings was, let's see, 6th inning here, he hit his 13th home run. And until the 9th, he was in sole first place in the American League home run race until Ted Williams hit a homer in the 9th off of Urban Shocker, who's in relief for the Rockets. So those 2 players tied with 13 homers apiece. We're really battling it out here for the batting title, but Ted Williams has probably a pretty comfortable lead of 10 points in the batting title. So these 2 teams will face off 3 more times. They'll have 3 more chances here. And however this series pans out could very well shape the season for these 2 teams. Next, we head to Los Angeles as the Chicago Docs face off against the Los Angeles Dynamos. LA needing a win desperately to keep pace with the St. Louis Wizards. Unfortunately, their offense kind of disappeared in this one against Curt Schilling. Schilling had the best start of his season, allowing just 1 earned run on 5 hits in 8 innings while striking out 5. The sole run came on a Willie Mays homer here in the 4th. Schilling improved to 4-3. Meanwhile, Don Drysdale, he allowed 6 runs in his 7 innings pitched. 13 hits, though. So Chicago was having an easy time getting hits in this one. Buster Posey was 3 for 4 to lead the team in hits. Todd Helton, leadoff hitter, 2 for 5 with 4 RBI there for him. He had a 3-run homer there in the 6th. But the real story, I think, is the LA offense, who just couldn't get anything going today. They fall to 24-19 with the loss. Chicago improves to 14-29, avoiding their 30th loss of the season. But they are statistically have been eliminated, but now are playing the role of spoiler here, as I mentioned. LA 24-19, that puts them, I believe, 5 games back now in the American League. If we take a look at the standings here, Detroit, a game and a half on Boston here. And remember, both of these teams have about 11 games to play. So time is running out. Nobody in the American League statistically eliminated yet. But unless something very weird happens, I think New York will have a tough time catching whoever gets first place here in the American League. National League, it's more clear-cut as St. Louis opens up a 5-game lead over LA in the National League. Houston and Chicago well back at this point. Chicago out of it, 15 games back. Houston's already 10 games back. And Houston having to play St. Louis 3 more games here in this series will have a tough time of it. But anything can happen. So it'll be interesting to see as we head down the stretch of the season to see what happens. So that's where things stand on the May 19th date, May 19, 2022 for the Baseball Maelstrom. If you have any comments, please leave those down below. If you've enjoyed this, consider clicking the like button and subscribing. I think as we get down to the final games of this season, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. And then I will be doing the World Series games. Actually, I'm going to record those games as they're played. So be watching for that. And then I have some other projects in the works. I don't want to totally shut the door on redoing this one. Maybe shuffle some players around. Who knows? Maybe come up with some new teams. We'll see how that works. But in any event, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, have a great evening.